to proceed, as we come together after our lessons, our classes, to discuss some of the things that appear more often amongst us, of questions concerning some of the da'wah groups and organizations. From the questions that arise, in particular, is a common da'wah organization that is known and popular, is what is the condition of Green Lane Masjid and their callers and what they stand upon of their call. This question has not only come in recent time, but as well from before. And this question shows that this is a matter of concern. And for people to continuously ask about the condition of this mosque and the condition of their callers, their du'ats. So I thought it was important to speak about this particular masjid. But really, they're increasing in their presence online and as well in their actual presence in different countries. So this masjid, Green Lane Masjid, they are originally an organization known as Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith. The Markaz Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith, the one that is established and founded in UK from the mid-70s. This organization, it originally started as the Ahl al-Hadith movement, where its founder, Fazl Karim Asim, he intended to educate the people of the way of the Ahl Sunnah and the people of the Salaf, and to show the importance of following the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it was as a school. It started as that, and it eventually grew and became bigger and bigger as we read about its establishment. And as of today, they're found in the UK over 50 or more centers from masajid and places of their own. Markaz Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith. And their first establishment was that mosque that we're referring to now, is Green Lane Mosque. And Green Lane Mosque was their first, we would say, headquarters or establishment. So this is how this masjid began in their call. When you read how it all started, and even you find some of their members, their leaders at this time, they attest to this. They attest to this affair. I'll give you an example. The General Amir of Jam'iyyat al-Hadith, when he describes their establishment, he attests to this. We'll play the audio, inshallah. And his name is Shu'aib Ahmed Mapuri. He's one of the leaders of this Jam'iyyah.
This was established back in 1975, and it was registered with the Charity Commission in 1976. As you all know, the founder of Markaz Jam'iyyat al-Hadith, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through mercy upon him, Maulana Fazl Karim Asim Saab, rahmatullah alayh, an old man who used to travel from one city to another city, one town to another town. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala place him in paradise. And then later on, Maulana Mahmoud Mirbri rahmatullah alayhi joined him in 1976. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also forgive him and place him in paradise, who in only few years did a tremendous work, and also established quite a few branches. Again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him and give him a place in paradise. My brothers and sisters, our Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith, we've got almost 50 branches from Glasgow all the way to Maidstone.
So the beginning of it, the establishment of this Jam'iyah, Markaz Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith, found in UK, it is, as we mentioned, established upon khair of goodness, the very beginning, where the intention was good. However, it began to change from that establishment, where the Jam'iyah began to become like a group that they were calling to. And this occurred more when the leader of the Jam'iyah became a man who's known as Abdul Umari, and as well Suhaib Hassan, and a third, Hafizullah Khan. When these people became the leader of that organization, they became more like a group that they were calling to themselves, and as well they began to associate themselves in those early timings with Ihya Turath in Kuwait, where this is even attested, found in old reports of Majallatul Furqan, the magazine of Furqan, where it has a statement by Suhaib Hassan, one of the leaders at that time, admitting to this, that they were associating themselves and they were supporting the idea of working with them. So this is where the beginning of the change happened. So as well, the Jam'iyah began to change the affair of their history, and it's to say that their leader and their founder used to work with everyone. And you can find this on their Facebook page, and also where they describe their history and many of their works. They say that their leader, their founder, he worked with every group of the Muslim community, regardless of their ideologies and inclinations and differences. This is what they're saying, that their founder worked with everyone despite of their ideologies. He even harmonized himself to the extent that he avoided offering prayers according to his own personal conviction. So this is what the concept they use, claiming that their founder worked with everyone. So they began to work under the name of unity with various people. So this was one of the first stages that they had where they began to change. But this Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith, Green Lane Mosque at that time, they attained their popularity amongst the people when they received financial funds from the likes of Sheikh bin Baz and others to build a masjid that's found in London, Masjid Tawheed, in the year 1994. So this masjid was the masjid of Suhaib Hassan, and as well a branch of Jam'iyyat al-Hadith. They attained their popularity by receiving funds from Sheikh bin Baz. And up until now, even when I went to the UK recently, you can see that the people there, they attest to this. So this is how it increased in popularity at the very beginning. And their first branch, as we said, was Green Lane Mosque. It was like the main center for Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith. You could hear in this audio that I'm going to play one of their main figures of Green Lane Mosque, Ahsan Hanif. He attests to this in the year 2013 in an audio before one of the main heads and figures of Jam'iyyat al-Hadith.
Over to the other speakers to give their concluding remarks, and I would like to start with our Sheikh Shu'aib Ahmed bin Puri, who is the General Secretary of Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith in the UK, the umbrella organization that is masjid, along with other masajid they belong to, their affiliates of. So I'd like to ask him to, inshallah ta'ala, begin with his concluding remarks.
So we're going to play that clip soon, where one of the leaders of Jam'iyyat al-Hadith speaks and clarifies their connection. So this is how it began with the first affair of Green Lane Mosque. And as well in the late 90s, the affair of Jam'iyyat al-Hadith, it worsened. And as one of the reasons why it worsened was because of that call to unity with various groups, working with them. So their affair was presented to Sheikh Mubil rahimahullah at that time, and seeking the advice of the Sheikh, and in particular about Suhaib Hassan, one of their leaders. So we'll play the audio.
السؤال الرابع قال الله تعالى وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى استدل المدعو صهيب حسن وجماعة بهذه الآية على جواز التعاون مع أهل البدع والحزبية في الدعوة إلى الله فهل لقولهم هذا وجه شرعي؟
So the question that was presented to Sheikh Mubil rahimahullah, that Suhaib Hassan and his fellow brothers, meaning of Jam'iyyat al-Hadith, they're using the ayah وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى to work with alongside Ahl Bid'ah. So the question is this stidlal, is this proof that they brought correct? And we're going to hear the answer of Sheikh Mubil rahimahullah.
للمسلمين بعد أن انتهوا من الروس والشيوعيين بسبب أنهم كانوا خليطا.
So Sheikh Mubil rahimahullah, he answered, he says this is the root cause that watered down the da'wah, and as well made Afghanistan a place as like it was a slaughterhouse where the Muslims were destroyed, despite them before being strong in the face of the Russians. They became weak as a result of them being mixed with one another. كانوا خليطا, the Sheikh says. So he goes on to answer. So the Shaykh Mubil rahimahullah goes on to describe how the early ones, they were destroyed in the face of their enemies, is because they were mixed in their ranks. Amongst them was a Sufi, amongst them was an extremist of the Hanafi madhab, amongst them was a takfiri, those who take the people out of the fold of Islam for the slightest of affairs. Amongst them was different various of groups. From Yemen, it was at their hands, the destruction, and they began to attack one another, which lead to their destruction. So Sheikh Mubil rahimahullah, he said it's a must that a person be distinguished in his call. He has tamayyuz. And he says those da'was, those filthy da'was, that some of them even call to unite between Sunnah and Shia, the Sunni and the Shi'i. So, and we're going to show an example where Jam'iyyat al-Hadith eventually led to that level. But we'll move on. From that time on, unfortunately, the advice wasn't taken. So they continued to invite various of different speakers from different parts of the world with different inclinations and methodologies. From an example of that, around the year 2004, Green Lane Masjid, they had a conference titled In the Footsteps of the Companions of Allah's Messenger. They invited Yasir Qadi, and they had from the speakers Tawfiq Chowdhury, and as well here mentioned Abu Sama Dahabi, who was from America at that time. So Tawfiq Chowdhury, who we know is the founder of Kawthar Institute. As well, Yasir Qadi was from the main figures of the Maghrib Institute. These were the people who they chose to invite. And we're going to see that these two individuals were people that, especially Tawfiq al-Chowdhury, weren't people that were upon the correct methodology. They were agreeing to this concept of uniting with other groups under the name of mutual cooperation. We're going to give an example of that. But it's not shocking that Green Lane Mosque, they invite the likes of these people because some of their own members are part of Al-Maghrib, such as Ahsan Hanif, and as well Sajid Ahmed Umar, who is also a member of Kawthar Institute. So it was bound to happen that they invite their partners. And as well after that, they continued to invite various speakers. In the year 2007, April 11, they had a talk announced preachers converting to Islam, and they invite the title Sheikh Yusuf Estes. So they invited him, and for those who are aware, Yusuf Estes is not someone who is upon the correct belief. And we're going to see that Yusuf Estes was a man, he has issues in his creed, not only his methodology. He even has issues where he deems someone asking him to make dua for him while he's alive of certain basic affairs is a form of shirk, and we're going to give an example of that.
But brother comes to me and he says, Imam, please make dua for me. I said, okay. For what? He said, make dua, I can grow my beard. Make dua, I'll grow my beard. I said, I can't do that. He said, why? I said, that's shirk. He said, shirk? How is it shirk that you make dua for me to grow my beard? Shirk means to make partners with Allah. You want me to make partners with Allah? I said, no, I just asked you to make dua that I want to grow my beard. Just make dua, I'll grow my beard. I said, I can't. Because it is Allah who grows your beard, not you. But I will make dua that you quit cutting it off.
So you can see that this man is not a man who speaks upon the correct creed. He lacks the basic requirements about being upon the aqeed of the Salaf, even in matters of tawheed and shirk. This is something that we know if a person is capable, he's alive, just to ask another man to make dua for you, that is not direct shirk. And we're going to give another example of issues of aqeedah that he has. We'll play the audio.
How do you explain to non-Muslims? They say we believe in the concept of God, acknowledge Him as Allah, creator of the universe. But because we're non-Muslims, your Quran calls us non-believers. Actually, if somebody believes in Allah, and they believe in the concept that Allah is the creator and sustainer of the universe, but they don't follow Islam, they could be fasiq, disobedient. They could be munafiq, hypocrite, but they wouldn't actually be in the category of a non-believer.
So you can see that Yusuf Estes, this man that was being promoted by a Green Lane Mosque in that year, and then as well from the years after, he says in this audio that a person who believes in the existence of God and that Allah is His creator without following Islam could be a believer, but he can just be a fasiq or a munafiq. And he says, in other clips, he also affirms that a Christian is a believer. A Christian is a believer. So there's a lot of examples of deviation for this person where it was very surprising to find Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith when you go on their website, on their Facebook, they'll tell you that their constitution of the Jam'iyah is the Quran and Sunnah. And you find that they invite the likes of this person. We'll give another example of his errors in his methodology.
When they ask me, again, I'll mention when I come back to the country, they'll ask me, are you a Sunni? I say, no, I am not. Why? Well, I'm not going to leave out the Quran. I follow the Quran and the Sunnah.
So you can see that his da'wah became comedy and mockery to terminologies that are known by our scholars, that are affirmed. And this is ridicule, and this is a behavior that should not be tolerated or supported whatsoever.
Anybody here only follows Sunnah? Duh.
So you can see how he speaks about wordings of our scholars and our deen, and how he makes just mockery of it.
But when they ask me, again, I'll mention when I come back to the country.
You can find as well his examples of how he speaks about the word Salafi.
And when somebody says we are Salafi, first of all, I'm going to guess that he doesn't know the Arabic language. I'm going to guess he probably doesn't know. Or he said it so much he forgot what it really means. Salaf means somebody who's dead and gone. These are your predecessors. So a guy stand there telling you, I'm dead. And they say Salaf Asali, righteous predecessor. Okay, I'm a dead righteous guy. It doesn't work.
So we're going to clarify. It might be, it's very shocking to see this level, and then someone being promoted in this stage. And then after that, Green Lane doesn't stop there. They have a conference in the year 2008 of July. It was an annual summer Islamic conference where they had multiple speakers. And we'll mention some of the speakers that they had. Was Asim al-Hakim, they had Haytham al-Haddad, Murtaza Khan, and Abdurrahim Green. And for those, and as well here I mentioned from the mashayikh that they invited was Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas at that time. And we're going to see later on how some of their own mashayikh later on has been ascribed and attributed to them words of criticism against this masjid. And we will address that affair. But Abdurrahim Green and Haytham al-Haddad, along with Tawfiq Chowdhury, are those who signed to a pledge to work with various people. And these people are even Sufis, people who have corrupted Aqidah. In the year 2007, and they made a pledge of mutual respect and cooperation. And they said this is signed by people of diverse theological backgrounds. And from amongst the people that signed to the cooperation of this affair, of this pledge, was Hamza Yusuf, Faraz Rabbani, people that are well-known Sufis. And in particular, Hamza Yusuf doesn't affirm that we can say that Allah is above. And this is found by audio. As well, he'll say regarding Allah having hands, I affirm the wording, but I will leave the meaning back to Allah. Hamza Yusuf, this man, you can see even how he describes the affair of love between the servant with his Lord. We'll play a clip. And the other Sufis, if you go on to the list of those people who they say they're going to cooperate and have mutual respect, are people that are far, have misguidances in their aqidah. So here, listen to this clip of Hamza Yusuf, just giving the affair of love of the servant with his Lord.
This, the word in Arabic for erotic love is the same word for the binding of the vine. Mm-hmm. And so this idea of just falling in love with God. And I think in a true relationship, for instance, the relationship between a meaningful relationship with a man and a wife, the deepest pleasure is pleasuring the other. I mean, there's an incredible And I think that's true. I have to believe that that's true in all deeply intimate relations.
So you're going to find, look at here, this example that they're giving is a Sufi meaning of love between a servant and his Lord. And this is how far this man has went. And with all of that, Abdurrahim Green, Haytham al-Haddad, Tawfiq al-Chowdhury, they all signed to an agreement to work along with this type of man and others who have corrupted beliefs in their aqidah. You can listen more.
The desire to give the other the gift of pleasure.
So, with all this, criticism began to appear directly to Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith, Green Lane Mosque. So, it led to controversy, especially in the year 2008, in the summer, where some began to defend them fervently and what they called to. And there even was a document was produced, a response to the unjust, deceptive, and slanderous allegations made against Markaz Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith. And from the people that agreed to it was Suhaib Hassan, Abdul Hadi al-Umari, Hafizullah Khan, Shu'aib Ahmed al-Mapuri, and it said here it was checked by Sheikh Dr. Wasiullah Abbas. So where they defended themselves. And you can find that these people, they have not only even what's found in the document of referring to some of them as the Amir, but even on their website, when you go back to Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith, they refer to their leaders as Amirs. And we know, firstly, to have Amirs for da'wah, while not being a state of residence, is something that is incorrect. And our scholars have been asked about that, and they spoke. In particular, Sheikh Mubir Rahimullah, they said, it was asked, مَا رَأْيُكُمْ فِي الْإِمَارَةِ فِي الْحَضَرِ مِنْ أَجْلِ دَعْوَةِ. What's the ruling of having amirs while being in a state of residence for the purpose of da'wah, to have amir of a da'wah? He said, الْإِمَارَةِ فِي الْحَضَرِ لَا تُثْبُتْ إِلَّا لِأَمِيرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. That having an amir in residence is not affirmed and established except for the amir of the believers, the ruler, or man amruhu amir al-mu'minin, or those who have the position of being the ruler or the leader for the believers. He says, وَأَمَّا أَنْ يَتَوَسَّعَ النَّاسِ في هذا الأمر فقد أصبح ربما يكونون ثلاثة ولهم أمير المؤمنين فهذه بدعة. He says, as for people to expand in this affair, where perhaps you have 3 people and they have an amir. He said, this is an innovation that divided the unity of the Muslims, مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ بِهَا مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. And he says, وَاللَّهُ مُسْتَعَانٍ, and Allah is Zayd. This is taken from his book, قَمْعُ الْمُعَانِدْ وَزَجْرُ الْحَاقِدِ الْحَاسِدِ. So, as well, you can see other scholars who spoke about this. It was asked to Sheikh Muhammad Salih Uthaymin, what's the ruling of having groups? They have an amir over them. They refer to him as an amir for da'wah. So the Shaykh, he criticized this. He says, أما الإمارة على طائفة من الناس فهذه توجب التحزب والتفرق. As for having amirs on a group of people, this necessitates bias, partisanship, and division. And he mentions that it's appropriate for the Muslims to have one amir over them, and one, to be one ummah. And he says this goes against the statement of Allah, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold fast all together to the rope of Allah and do not divide. And there's many other scholars that spoke about this. And we fear that this type of having amir is similar to Jam'iyyat Ahl al-Hadith in India, where they have some type of form of bay'ah, where they pledge allegiance. Even when you to join their group, they make you agree to the constitution that they have and make you sign to a bond where you pledge allegiance. We'll read to it here as from translated from their language, that a person starts off by saying Ana, he mentions his name, and then the son of so and so, Mukhtar Udwiyat al-Jam'iyya al-Markaziyya li Ahl al-Hadith bil-Hind. I'm choosing to be a member of Jam'iyyat al-Hadith of Hind. وأعاهد, and I give a covenant, وأشهد الله على أن أكون في العقيدة والمنهج والعمل على مسلك أهل الحديث. and I bear witness to be upon the aqeedah and the methodology and actions according to the methodology of Ahl al-Hadith. And he says, أنا أتفق مع عقيدة ودعوة الجمعية المركز أهل الحديث بالهند بالكلية. He says that second bond is that I agree to the aqeedah and the call of this Jam'iyya, Markaz al-Hadith in India, بكلية, in totality. وسأكون ملتزما بها راضيا وراغبا ومحتسبا لمسؤولية عند الله. And he says, I'm going to be one that adheres to it while being pleased and showing interest and hoping this responsibility with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, وسأكون مطبقا أو مطبقا تماما لنظم الجمعية المركزية لأهل الحديث بالهند ودستورها الأساسي. He said, I'm going to implement in totality the system of this Jam'iyya of Ahl Hadith and its constitution. And as well, he mentions that the fourth one, that a number of years that سأحاول أن أبلغ دعوة الجمعية المركز الحديث بالهند ورسالتها, that I will going to strive to convey the da'wah of Jam'iyyat al-Hadith and its call based upon the Kitab and Sunnah to everyone from Ahl al-Hind. ولا أقصر في ذلك, and I will not fall short in that. ولا أزال أدعو إلى الالتحاق بها, and I do not cease to call for the people to join them. So there's a lot of affairs. Then you mention your name, your address, even your number to agree to this. So they pledge allegiance. So this is something that we fear that this Jam'iyah has a similar affair of the one found in India. Then what happened after this is that this Jam'iyah, from its Jam'iyyat Ahl Hadith and UK, they had from its people was the son of Suhaib Hassan, Usama Hassan, where he began to express some of his beliefs, and in particular his belief in human evolution. He started to affirm the affair of human evolution, and this increased and occurred more in the year 2011. And we'll play different clips of where he says this.
Sit down there. Hold up. I said yes already.
So this is an example. Someone asked him, is regarding the affair of human evolution. Wallahi, it's hard to even swallow these words and to hear these words come out from someone who's ascribing to Islam and to be a scholar or to be a man of knowledge, where he was asked, was our ancestors from the affair of evolution of monkeys and apes? He says, yes, I believe in that, with his own words. And as well, you're going to see where he speaks more about this, even in the year 2017.
I had to look at evolution eventually, and as a scientist I thought, well, hold on. The scientific evidence is overwhelming, firstly, and secondly, the theological objections don't add up. They actually don't hold water. And so there's no reason actually to have this fierce theological objection to evolution. So I went from 1 to 2 to 3, and I encourage other Muslims who are on number 1 or 2 to move. But there we are. It's not so easy to have that conversation. I'll give you some examples later.
So here he mentions that he encourages Muslims to go through the stages and the phases that he went through to eventually believing in human evolution. This evolution theory, which is based upon being in reality a naturalist, not ascribing things to the action of Allah, action of a God, and it came about of not believing in God in the first place, and not believing that Adam was the first of the humans, and as well to believe that Adam wasn't, as Allah described, that he was created from clay, but he had something prior to that. So this belief, it is something that rejects what's apparent of the Quran, and we know it's even a theory. It's not something that even been proven, and yet he comes to reject what we have of our aqeedah, to go against it, and he's saying he encourages a Muslim to do this. And with all this, his father, what does he do in all of this? He begins to make excuses for his son on this issue, and you can hear that. So a man asked him, do you hold this opinion or do you object to it? And he said, I'll answer.
The second opinion is based upon science. What about ulama? Those ulama who knows the science, they can give this opinion about it. The person who doesn't know the science at all, he should not give a fatwa about it. So I still think that there is a room for ta'wil, just for ta'wil.
So here he says that he believes for this opinion that there's room to have interpretation regarding this matter of human evolution. This is what he's making of an excuses.
Opinion and the other opinion. No, I have my opinion. Show some respect. This is what I said. I said to you that he said that it came through a process of evolution. He said so, but this is still a theory. This is still a theory which is not proved. A theory which has not been proved. A theory which has not been proved. This is why it is still a theory. It is still a theory. This is why you must not interfere it or understand it in a different way. It is a theory. It may be right. It may be wrong.
So here he says about this theory, it may be right or may be wrong. This is his affair, Suhaib Hassan, concerning his son. And with all of this, the Masjid, Green Lane, and Jama'at al-Hadith, they continue and their affair of working with Suhaib Hassan. And Green Lane Masjid began to become its own organization, approximately, I believe, in the year 2008, where they began to have their own board, as well as still working with Jama'at al-Hadith, but they became separate and both in one masjid, working alongside one another. And the Green Day Masjid, at that time, they were persisting in saying that they're going to bring speakers that are going to be role models and good examples for the people. You can hear the words of one of their leaders and their imams, Ahsan Hanif, speaking about this.
And we're very passionate about giving da'wah, and we're very passionate about imparting knowledge, and we're very passionate about inviting speakers from all over the world so that the Muslim community in the UK can benefit from their knowledge, from their experience, from their expertise, and from their lives, and take them as examples for the Muslims in the UK.
And this, after him saying the likes of these words, who do they invite afterwards? They invite Abdul Bari, the core member of Al-Maghrib, as well Yahya Ibrahim, two important figures of Maghrib Institute. And listen to some of the words of Abdul Bari Yahya. What does he say about the affairs of Manhaj? And this is going to be an eye-opener for us.
Part of the methodology of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that when they see a good in the person, they recognize it, and they don't just focus on that which is bad. There are some people who, they see a group, and even though they might have very good attributes in terms of akhlaq and things like that, the only thing they focus upon is this particular point in which, it might be a deviancy, but at the same time you have to be balanced, especially when you're reminding people and calling people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't just look at the bad and just totally. You have to mention also the good aspects that they have also.
So here you can hear Abdul Bari Yahya establishing the innovative principle of al-muwazanat, a principle that our scholars have spoken about and warned from. And from the first of our scholars that spoke about this is Sheikh Muhammad Salih Al-Uthaymeen. It's a particular principle that has come from a man named Adnan Arur. You can hear Sheikh Muhammad Salih Al-Uthaymeen comment about this. So Sheikh Muhammad Salih Al-Uthaymeen gets really disturbed by this question about mention the good of someone. You have to mention the good when you want to warn as well. So he gets really disturbed by this question. He says, listen, O man, clarifying that this is incorrect. And then the questioner goes on to say, even if the person is from Ahlul Sunnah, ya Shaykh? So the Shaykh said, whether he's from Ahlul Sunnah or not from Ahlul Sunnah. He said, how am I going to warn from someone at the same time mention is good? He says, the Shaykh saying, does this make sense? So you can see examples of some of the people who they say they want to become a role model and to call the people. This is one. As well, they invited in the year 2017, Abdurrahim Markazi. He is well known. Abdurrahim Markazi. He's well known for these type of harakil, type of methodology, especially when the affair happened in Egypt and other affairs. We'll give some examples of how this man talks so people can see.
We need to remind ourselves as we enter today's khutbah with a statement that was always said by the founder of the Ikhwan Muslimin, Imam Hassan al-Banna.
And in the khutbah, he's reminding the people that we need to, this is in the year 2013, he's saying to remind the people to recall the statement of Imam Hassan al-Banna, and the leader of the Ikhwan Muslimin.
The founder of the Ikhwan Muslimin. And we need to realize that the war against the Ikhwan is not because of the Ikhwan. It's because of all of us. Because if they finish with the Ikhwan, they're coming for anybody else, even ones who are not with them.
So this is from one of those things that he sympathizes with the Ikhwan Muslimin about. And you can listen more of the examples of how this man speaks.
And we have to be honest when we say that the people who look at this stance and what's going on in Egypt, there's only two sides you can take. The side of Iman and the side of Kufr.
SubhanAllah, you can see that the way this man talks is not the speech of Ahlul Sunnah. And what was happening in Egypt is not a affair where a person can say you could take the side of Iman or the side of Kufr. And this is how the Ikhwan Muslimin spoke regarding this affair, where they even led to doing takfir of those who didn't support them in what they were doing. As well, you can see how this man is in regards to how he promotes and who he's originally working side with. This is another example where how he promotes the University School of Bilal Phillips.
One of the main questions that we constantly receive from around the world is, where can I study? Which country can I go to? How do I get there? What do I need to do to study there? And the reality is that there's not too many good places to study around the world. But alhamdulillah, we have the solution, which is online now. Alhamdulillah, our Sheikh, Dr. Bilal Phillips, has established IOU, the Islamic Online University.
So you can see, he says there's not a lot of places to study, a good place to study around the world. But he says, alhamdulillah, we have online to study with Bilal Phillips. SubhanAllah. Out of all the places to study with great scholars, they're not so good places, but we have people who can resort to study online with Bilal Phillips. Bilal Phillips, who in his da'wah tours and the recent year 2019, he's going around with Yusuf Estes, promoting him. Bilal Phillips, him with Abdurrahim Green and others. You can find the affair of this man as well in detail on our website, Toronto Da'wah. There's a 14-page PDF that clarifies in detail who is Bilal Phillips and what is he called to. So this is as well another da'i that Green Lane Masjid invited on more than one occasion. And then in the year 2015, when Yasir Qadi comes to Birmingham, Green Lane Masjid announced that they encourage the people to benefit and attend this very beneficial event which will be taking place in Birmingham. and it is Yasir Qadhi, subhanAllah. A man who says he is no longer Salafi and he degrades his stage of being upon Salafiyya, a man that has a lot of deviation. And with all of that, they encourage the people to go and benefit from him. Yasir Qadhi, a man in one of his interviews online, when he was asked, who are the people that inspire you from those who are alive today, and who do you go to for advice, you can listen to his answer of how he answers this.
Who would you say are some of your inspirations in terms of alive today? Who do you go to for kind of advice and to keep yourself in check, because everyone needs.
The main person whom I can say that I have the utmost respect for, who is still alive today, is Sheikh Salman al-Auda. May Allah Azza wa Jal expedite his release. He has had a very profound and personal impact on me. I have met him many times, and he knows me personally, and he definitely has had been. He's somebody that really, I get emotional even just talking about knowing what he's been through and what he's going through now. He's somebody that I genuinely love and admire, and I view him as being the Ibn Taymiyyah of our times. Wow. This is the Ibn Taymiyyah figure of our time, somebody who understands and who has been forward-thinking for his entire life, even as a graduate student, 25, 30 years ago, he was ahead of his time. And he too has been through phases, right? And I see this as well, okay, this is actually a good thing, that you are exploring and you're seeing and you're trying to rethink through and do it in a manner that, yes, traditionalism is traditionalism, but traditionalism in Islam doesn't just mean you open up a fatwa of 1,000 years and implement it. You also have to move forward. So that is my number one inspiration who's alive, that's Sheikh Salman al-Auda.
Historically, from even when you did you study with him when you were in Medina?
So I wasn't able to study with him per se, because he was in Buraida and I was in Medina. But I did visit him when it was not allowed to visit him. Those are taboo days, so
don't tell anyone. I won't tell anyone.
This is back in the late 90s or whatnot.
Either.
But it's interesting at his house. I visited him in his house, and I also visited Sheikh Safar al-Hawali as well, and got to know him.
So you can see from his answer, you can hear from it, how he speaks about a man, Salman Auda, a man who was warned from by the scholars, by Al-Uthaymin, by Al-Albani, Muqbil, by Sheikh bin Baz. Even Sheikh bin Baz even requested for legal actions to be taken against him if he doesn't repent. This is the same person who, Yasir Qadhi, that's his living role model. Rather, he sees him as the Ibn Taymiyyah of our time. And with all of that, you can see that this man, up until now, there's no clear clarification from Green Lane Mosque concerning him. And Green Lane and Jam'iyyat al-Hadith, they are working with one another, and you can see that on their channels. And from who they still support is Suhaib Hassan. And Suhaib Hassan is a man that calls to unity even between the Shia and the Sunnis, and even between other groups that are far-fetched, and even not any type of Shia, but the 12ers from them, the Rafida. So you can hear this audio of Suhaib Hassan at the Intra-Faith Committee, where he signs, you can see a picture of him signing to a commitment of unity with these people.
So the main thing is, my brothers, and here the cream of the society is present here, especially the ulama. That is the duties of the ulama, who appear on the channels, on our screens, day and night. This is their duty to remember all the time the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. Whatever even you utter, a single word, there is someone who is going to watch it. There is someone who is going to write it.
So Suhaib Hassan, he emphasizing in his talk, he starts off by وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, holding fast to the unity and the rope of Allah. So this person, he's in a gathering with Rafida, various of sects, and he's telling the scholars not to speak with words that would divide the people, and it will be a reason why the Malaika will record against them. Look, you can hear even some of his words, how he speaks.
Please, hold this tongue. Just speak those words which can unite this ummah, not any words which can disunite this ummah. With that short message, I give you permission. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So this is Suhaib Hassan, and even at the meeting from the people that are there is that the presenter for Al Jazeera English channel, Mahdi Hassan, where he speaks as well. You can listen to what he says.
When we talk about Sunni versus Shia, what we're really talking about is Muslim versus Muslim, brother versus brother, sister versus sister. We're so blinded by our differences that we don't see what unites us. Here we are, 1.6 billion Muslims, a fifth of humanity, both Sunni and Shia, with the same God, the same Prophet, the same book, the same Kaaba, the same prayer, the same fast, the same holy month of Ramadan.
Suhaib Hassan, and this is the gathering that he's at, calling to with a fear of uniting between various groups, in particular the Shia with the Sunnis. And even Mahdi Hassan, he himself has admitted that he is a Shia. You can listen to that.
Gentlemen here, I'm not sure how much you're aware of the differences between Sunnis and Shias. Are you aware of the differences between Sunnis and Shias?
Vaguely, I know they're at each other's throats. That's the main thing I know.
That's not true. I'm Shia and my best friend is Sunni.
So you can hear from his own words, and admitting that he's a Shia, and as well from the people that was there at this intra-faith committee was a man who is from the 12ers of the Shia, the Rafidah, Sayyid Ali Raza Rizvi, who is one great figure of who's referred to as the ulama of the Shia, and to work alongside with this man and to be united. And Suhaib Hassan is asking the ulama not to speak because it's going to cause disunity. And Suhaib Hassan, you can find that some of his lectures are still on the Green Lane channel, the YouTube channel. And as well, one of his lectures have been promoted in the year 2019, December 9th, on the Facebook channel for Jamiat al-Hadith. So up until now, they promote this person. And you can hear how both Jamiat al-Hadith and Green Lane are with one another from one of their amirs, Shu'aib Ahmed Mapuri, how he speaks about this.
My brothers, our Aqidah of Jamiat al-Hadith, Aqidah of this masjid. This is the founder, or you can say this is the founding of first masjid of Ahl al-Hadith in Birmingham. This is the headquarters of Jamiat al-Hadith.
So these people, with all of that, they still say that they're upon Ahl al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah and their Aqidah and their manhaj. And from the people who they brought is, as well as who they invited, is Ala Sayyid, a member of Kawthar and one of the leading figures of Isna. This man who's known to work with various of different callers of different methodologies. You can see the flyers. It's a man that has indecent words, even when he speaks relating to what he's supposed to be given a title for as a marriage counselor or the one who gives advice regarding that. If you hear his words, his poor words regarding this, you'll see that this is not someone that should be speaking regarding these topics. Ala Sayyid, he works with a number of individuals. We're going to give some examples of the flyers. And with all of that, Green Lane Mosque has an interview with him as someone as a role model that the youth should look up to. And afterwards, there was some words that was attributed to one of their mashayikh who supported them, of the affair of that Green Lane Mosque. And if they're wrong, they bring a number of mashayikh that ascribe to the Salafi methodology. So how do we combine between this and affair? Some words that was attributed to Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas and a PDF that was distributed were, because it's in response to what Green Lane said, a clear example of our commitment to the Salafi da'wah and our connection to the scholars is the participation of many renowned Salafi scholars at our conferences and seminars and events. These scholars who have come to know us well over the years have not only attended but also praised us for the da'wah we call to and work for, and we all praise Allah. So Shaykh Wasiullah Abbas, from what was attributed to him, and these are words from one of their own mashayikh that's attributed. If this is affirmed, then this shows that this is a proof against them to have one of their own attest to this. وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. So the answer, he said, look, I understand the face of Green Lane Mosque. They present to Sheikh Sadlan that is not their true face in reality. I'm sure if you presented to these mashayikh like Sheikh Saleh or Sheikh Sadlan and Sheikh Sadahan, Abdulaziz Sadahan, the reality and uncovered their faces, he's clarifying that their true faces are not apparent to these mashayikh. And he said, because you are good people of sound aqeedah and you do not seek fitna, otherwise you would have done so a long time ago. The mashayikh, once they see this, they will become against Green Lane Mosque. And there's no doubt about this. And some words here was mentioned that he will take the evidences and bring it to some of these mashayikh. In all cases, if this is affirmed, it's used against them that to find one of their own mashayikh saying this. As well, from their mashayikh that they ascribe to is Sheikh Abdullah Rahmani, Abdullah ibn Nasir Rahmani, where he was as well given some advice regarding that. And this is attributed as well, from what was as well attributed from their mashayikh, saying, was Shaykh Khalid Radadi, he said about Jam'iyyat al-Hadith, regarding the website Medin.com, he said, we would like also to point out that our website does not have any connection to Jam'iyyah al-Hadith and Jam'iyyah Ihya Turath, nor any other organization or establishment or Jam'iyyah. And then he goes, we do not defend them, and we do not defend any of them at all. So this is one of their own mashayikh that's been attributed. If these reports are accurate, it shows that what the other shayukh were saying about Green Lane Mosque and Jam'iyyah al-Hadith was correct, and it was something that their own mashayikh has attested to. So these people, Jam'iyyah al-Hadith and Green Lane Mosque, they have a lot of places where they have branches around UK, and Leicester Mosque, one of the old branches, is Masjid Taqwa, and there's another place where they're commonly found is Dudley Da'wah, where they're found at that mosque. And that da'wah, often their callers are there giving talks, sometimes in English and sometimes in Urdu. And then they use some of the watered-down graduates to appear in some of their meetings, and they use this to support them. And it's unfortunate to have some of these graduates from Medina supporting them in this affair. And in the past summer, they had Walid al-Basyuni, the vice president of Al-Maghrib. And you can hear what he said when he went there.
When we work together, we need to remember this golden rule. Let the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam give it to Mu'adh and to Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. تطاوعا ولا تختلفا. What's tatawa'a? Tatawa'a, it means I give up my opinion one time and you give your opinion one time. Or like, I love what Sha'anar Aror once said. He said, it means that you give the opinion that you believe is correct for your brother's opinion, who you do believe his opinion is not correct, but it's not haram.
And you can look, he's there on the platform saying these words, promoting first, Yani Adnan Aror, who we gave much examples of what he stands on, and with all these clarifications, Walid Basyuni still promotes this man, despite what has been sent to him and other clarifications widespread. And he says about the hadith, he gives it, that the meaning of it, tatawa'a, you give up your opinion that you deem to be correct, and the other person gives up his opinion that he deems to correct. This is incorrect interpretation, it's erroneous. And this is one of the bases of one of the fundamentals of Ikhwan al-Muslimin. This is how it begins, and then eventually leads to where people work with one another upon clear differences, even though he says that it's not haram, but it's just a stepping stool. You can see what he's going to say after.
Yes, don't ever stop your nasiha to your brothers, but don't let your nasiha to stop you from working with your brothers. If you see something I do wrong and bid'ah wrong, advise me. And I should welcome that. But it doesn't mean that you don't work with me. It doesn't mean that you cannot tell your community, I disagree with that opinion. In your khutbah, in your social media, this is my position. But it doesn't mean that I cut that person. Because I'm also against to make the deen water down. And we don't know what's the right and what's the wrong and what's the sunnah, what's the bid'ah. I don't want that. I want to preserve the ilm, preserve the positions. But at the same time, I want to preserve the unity between us. And I hope this will bring a lot of people together.
So you can see the concept of unity. Here he gave a talk. He gave a talk called Fiqh of Unity, where he calls to, even when people have affairs like in bid'ah, just advise them, but you still work with them. And this is the new thing now, that it's the fundamentals of Ikhwan al-Muslimin. People that have issues of bid'ah, you just say, yes, I share my opinion openly in a conference, and I still work with the person despite of what he has of differences. As long as I have my opinion and it's known, I can work with whoever I want, just to preserve what they say, the unity of the Muslims. So this is something that we need to remember. As well from Green Lane, who they invite is a man named Asim Khan, member of Kawthar. And Kawthar is another version in Australia for Maghrib. And you can see some of their flyers, who they're with. They go to far extents with even Yahya Ibrahim, or sometimes with Mufti Menk, and some of them with Nu'man Ali Khan, and people that are far misguided, some people that even work with Hamza Yusuf and some of the Sufis. They come together upon that, supporting one another. So Green Lane has advertised and promoted Maghrib and Kawthar and other organizations in UK. They have become the hub for that. And you can find that as well. Another speaker of theirs, who is well known to work with Yusuf Estes, they invited. His name is John Fontaine. He is a man that goes and gives talks there. We will play just a clip of recent times where he's interviewing Yusuf Estes and how he introduces him.
I'm with a very, 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 very special guest today, Sheikh Yusuf Estes. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
So this is the man, who the speakers that they're promoting and they're bringing. It's unfortunate to see this, but we request those who continue to promote Green Lane Masjid and their du'ats and Jamia Ahl al-Hadith and their masajid, to look thoroughly into the matter of the consequences of their actions. For really they're misleading many to assume what they're upon is Salafiyah. And this is unfortunate. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us all and to allow us to see the truth as the truth and falsehood as the falsehood. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أن يتوفانا مسلمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. بارك الله.